Hello friends, and welcome to The Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, in this week's video, we're looking at intuition and inspiration and how we can implement them when living an intentional life. And if you are a return visitor, you know that I already have a tarot spread laid out, oracle cards included. And I'm using the same cards as I used the last 2 weeks. And this is my week ahead spread, if you will. So without further ado, let's take a look at the spread. This is a gorgeous set of cards, isn't it? And if you're curious about who made these cards, there will be information at the end of the video telling you who the creators are. And if you look below in the description box, there will be links to go to get the decks if you're interested in purchasing them for yourself. So what we have here are the Child of the Universe oracles laid out in the center, and around the sides there are 4 sets of inquiry cards and a true black tarot answering the question on the inquiry cards. So, as usual, let's look at the central 6 cards of the spread. Before we break this down into top and bottom rows, I'd like to look at the 6 cards together as one whole, because there's a lovely mirroring and balancing going on here. Did you notice? If you look at the cards, in the top left and the bottom right, one is intuition and one is divine inspiration. Both of them a very clear mirroring of one another. They both have a similar quality, a similar idea, at least to me. In the top right and bottom left, we have Child of the Universe and Cultivate Strength, which is not such an obvious mirroring. But if you look at the top right card, Child of the Universe, what do we see? We see a mothering figure and a child in a loving relationship. Yeah? In a kind of protective, perhaps, but at least a nurturing relationship. And in the bottom left, we have Cultivate Strength, which shows 2 hands in a gentle embrace, a clasp. However, Cultivate Strength is also the Strength card from Tarot, which shows a woman and a lion in a loving relationship. Yeah? And there we have perhaps spirit and earthly form in a loving, protective relationship perhaps, or conscious and unconscious, or will and desire, aspects of self in a loving, integrated relationship. And so there's a kind of mirroring going on there as well, I think. In the central cards, it's not so much a mirroring as a balance. The top card is Aries, a very fiery, go get 'em and do it kind of card. And in the bottom, we have Divine Timing, a card that says, just take a moment, step back, it'll all happen in its proper time. So that's a very balanced set of cards right there in the center. Yeah, fiery, go get 'em, go do it, and bottom a little bit cooler, take a step back and wait for it to happen. So there's this lovely integration and mirroring and balancing going on within these 6 cards that I was taken aback by, that I was impressed by, that I felt an intuitive hit by. And so I really wanted to use this spread in this week's video. So friends, let's take a look at the top row of cards, the cards that show what we're aiming towards, what we're focusing on the most. This top set of cards starts with the first card, Intuition, and then goes to Aries and Child of the Universe, as I mentioned before. And the first card is the most important card of the spread, if you will. It tells us the main idea of the whole spread. And the main idea of this whole spread is intuition. And when I'm, again, speaking of intuition, I'm thinking of it as the way Carl Jung describes intuition, as one of the mental functions. Now we have six of them, according to him. We have thinking and feeling, we have sensing and intuition, and we have judging and perceiving. And we all have all of those functions available to us, but some of us have a more innate tendency to use one of them more easily than others. And for some of us, intuition is a very innate ability. Some of us use our intuitive thinking processes very easily, and I'm a little bit envious of them. How about you? When you think of those mental processes of thinking and feeling, sensing and intuiting, perceiving and judging, where are you in those processes? Which do you think you use the most frequently and the easiest? Is intuition one of those? If it is, you're good to go. But for many of us, it is not the easiest, and it is not one that is the most naturally available to us. However, it is there, and we can develop it. We all have the potential to develop all of our mental faculties to some extent. Perhaps not as to the extent of the innate intuitive, the one who automatically uses intuition with ease. We might not get to that point, but we can still improve and develop our intuitive skills. And it is a skill. And one way to do that is through using tarot and oracle cards, which is what I'm doing. And the reason why I decided to return to reading tarot and oracle cards, because I wanted to develop my intuitive skills. What about you? Do you use any tools to develop your intuition? Intuition is very useful when we want to live an intentional life. It can be one of our ways of discerning our path as we move with the powerful current of what is this called? Of intention. The powerful current of intention. We're going to go with one way or the other. However, our intuition will help us traverse the currents within the major current, if you will, along with our emotional index, which tells us how well we're moving with the powerful force of intention. So intuition is a wonderful, beautiful, and important tool for us to use when living an intentional life. And why is it? Why is that so? It is the unconscious information process. What do I mean by that? When we think of rational thought, what is that? That's where we look at, for example, a picture, or we look at information, and we break it apart into bits, we organize it, we compare it, we evaluate it, we break things down and think about the pieces. That's what rational thought generally is. Intuitive thought is the opposite of that. Now, intuitive thought is where we take information in from our experience, from what we have seen in the world, and perhaps also from the collective unconscious, which also is part of our mind. Yeah? Experiences from our ancestors, for example. We take all of that information, and rather than breaking it down and compartmentalizing it and comparing it, what we do is we integrate it into a picture, a holistic image, perhaps. And we look at that holistic image and we gain understanding from it. Rather than detailed information, we gain understanding, sort of like looking at a map. When you look at a map, we're not looking at every little piece and figuring it out. What we do is we survey the whole thing. We look at where we are, where we want to go, and we see the path that will get us there. We don't think of, okay, I could go this way, or I could go this way, or I could go this way, or I could go this way. No, we look at the whole picture, and the understanding appears for us. That's a way of understanding intuitive thought. Yeah? We organize information into one large picture from which we derive understanding, not consciously thinking about it, but unconsciously understanding it. And so the intuition card is reminding us of that. Yeah, the way we integrate information and gain understanding from that, and how that is very helpful when living an intentional life. It's perhaps a card of heightened psychic awareness. And again, not psychic awareness as this woo-woo thing that only the rare few have access to, but a psychic awareness that we are all able to use. We all have a psychic awareness. We all have a sixth sense that is perhaps more developed than for some than for others, but we all have it. And that's part of our intuition. That sixth sense that is not exactly, oh, I remember when I went to that perhaps carnival and had that experience, and that experience is part of this understanding that I'm receiving from my intuition. Our psychic awareness can be beyond that. And perhaps the collective unconscious is part of that psychic awareness and understanding. Intuition is also a transcendent experience. And I want to emphasize that, because I think many of us think of the conscious mind and the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind as being something somehow lower than or less than or underneath. Whereas the way I understand conscious and unconscious is more three-dimensional, more spherical, where the conscious mind is perhaps this core that is very bright because that's where most of our attention is placed. And our unconscious, rather than being something underneath it, is something that is around it, is transcendent, is just a step beyond the conscious mind. And some of it is below and some of it is above. Some of it is around the sides. So intuition is that transcendent understanding from the unconscious and from psychic information and connections and entanglement. It's also an area of exploring answers from within. The answers to most of our questions, if we can formulate the question, the answer is probably there within each of us in some form. And it just needs to be brought into conscious awareness, brought from the unconscious into our conscious awareness. So that is what this card is reminding us that we can do, and is a wonderfully powerful tool, function, ability that we all have and can develop when living an intentional life. It also reminds us to learn to trust our intuition. Because especially for those of us who are not as facile with using and understanding our intuitive thought processes, we can doubt what we're understanding. We can doubt ourselves. And we can confuse what is intuition and what is just random feelings. Or if those random feelings are actually part of our intuition, what are they actually trying to tell us? So learning to trust and understand our intuition, and also learning to hone our intuition so that we do get a clearer understanding of what it is trying to communicate to us in our conscious minds. Also learning to tune into the secrets of the universe. And that's part of that psychic understanding, that transcendent understanding. Because there is only unity. There is only unity in this physical universe, and there is only unity beyond this physical universe. Because physical and non-physical are not separate. Physical and non-physical are not separated. There's not a line where, okay, this is the physical side and this is the non-physical side. It's all one. It's all integrated. And We can tune into that. As we tune into that oneness, we have access to so much more information that we can process intuitively. And as we process it intuitively, we can develop new desires and new ways of understanding how we can manifest those desires. So intuition is so beautiful, it's so powerful, and it's so important when we want to live an intentional life. Do you develop, or are you working on your intuition? How do you do that? I'd be curious to know. What are your techniques for developing your intuition? Again, my primary one right now is cartomancy, but I'm also looking at and experimenting with other forms of intuitive development. Now, the next card. When we get this intuitive information, when we get this intuitive understanding, what do we want to do? We want to be Aries. Now, when we trust our intuition, we want to take that intuition, that intuitive understanding, and run with it. We don't want to sit back and analyze it, because then we're trying to break it apart, and we work contrary to the potential of our intuitive faculty. When we take it and try to break it apart, it's like you've grown this beautiful crystal and now you're going to smash it to pieces. Instead, we want to take this beautiful crystal that we've developed and use it, put it into practice, put this understanding into action, which is what Aries is all about. It's the courage to move with and in the direction of this understanding that we've received. To act first and then perhaps think later. Yeah, act first, see what comes of that action, and then we can analyze, well, okay, so I acted, I did this, and how successful was that? If it was successful, then we say, okay, so I'm working well with my intuition. If it was unsuccessful, then we can think, okay, is it unsuccessful because I misunderstood something, or is it unsuccessful because I'm still learning something? We want to be wild and free and enthusiastic when working with our intuition. Yeah, our intuition wants to be energized. And when I'm saying wild, I'm not saying erratic or destructive or aggressively wild, but rather free to move in some directions that might not be rationally indicated. We want to be free and wild as opposed to tamed. Now, our rational mind tames us. It gives us the rules, and those rules are wonderful. But when we work with intuition, we want to be free. We want to be a little wild. We want to be more expressive. We want to be enthusiastic. And we want to work on our attention spans. Because Aries is there are two. I don't want to say weak, but areas where Aries might want to work on. One is the destructive side. Aries can be destructive in a negative sense. And Aries can build and create and begin and explore, but it can also get out of control and start wrecking things. Especially if it doesn't seem to be coming out right away. It can go, no. It also is a sign of short attention spans. So, we want to maintain our attention on the things that we are moving with when we've gained an intuitive understanding. Yeah? We don't want that understanding to be short-lived. We want it to remain so that it can develop and it can flower and it can grow and it can bloom and eventually harvest and guide us to the next intuitive understanding. We want to take that fiery, passionate, creative side of Aries and run with it and focus it a little bit. And also trust, which is the last card of this row, the child of the universe, trust. We have unlimited potential. We were born with unlimited potential, and we have now, at every moment, we have unlimited potential because we are unlimited beings. We are infinite beings having this temporary human experience at this time. This one human experience. And there will, I believe, be many more, and there have been many more. It's a card that reminds us that we have infinite potential. And anything that we start now is not necessarily going to end when this body is ready to be left by us. We can continue with that into the next body. It's a card of new beginnings. Yeah? We can trust that there will always be new beginnings and great purpose. Some of us at times feel like we've lost our purpose in life. Have you ever felt that? Have you ever felt like you're not sure what the heck you're doing in this physical universe? We have great purpose. Our purpose is, in my understanding, joy. We are here to joyfully experience creating and evolving and co-creating this universe. And we have great purpose and great potential, unlimited potential. We have deep spiritual meaning because we are deeply spiritual beings having this physical experience in this physical universe. We have all of the resources we need. We have them. They may not be the ones that we're thinking of. If you think that your resource needs to be petroleum, then that's not the resource that I'm talking about. Because there are some, of course, resources that are limited. Because this is a physical universe. And they are limited in this moment, in this place. However, when we say unlimited resources, all the needed resources, we have all the needed energy that we require to do what we want to do. And we have all of the intelligence we need to take advantage of that energy. We have all of the oxygen that we need in this planet, on this planet. We have all of the water that we need, whether we're near it or not, it's there. Whether it's clean or not, whether we've dirtied it or not, it is there. We have it there. We have all of these resources available to us if we have the creative minds, the intuitive understanding of where to access and how to use them. They're there. We are safe. We are safe. These bodies may encounter danger, but we are safe. This card is reminding us that the universe, the divine creator, is one with us. We are one with the divine creator, and we are loved and held and comforted and embraced and safe in this universe because we are a child of this universe, which is a child of the divine creator, whatever we want to call that. And so we can set forth and manifest. We can be the fool in the tarot card. We can take the leap because it's all good. We are held. We are safe. And we have all of the tools that we need. We have all of the resources we need. And we have all of the understanding available to us through our intuition as we live our intentional lives. Friends, let's look at the bottom row of these cards. This bottom row of 3 cards is also beautiful and deeply meaningful, I believe. And where the top row started with intuition and then moved into the fire and then trust, the bottom row starts with our trust and then moves into inspiration. So whereas the top row gave us a path from our intuitive understanding into action. This one is giving us a pathway into our inspiration. Because we also need that, especially me. I need to understand, how am I going to get access to my inspiration, to intuition? And I see them as correlates. I see them as very similar. Yeah? Intuition, divine inspiration, I see as two sides of the same coin. And this row of cards starts with cultivate strength. Here we're not talking cultivate strength, but rather cultivate strength, which are very different. Yeah, very different. Because cultivate strength is a reflection of the strength card in the tarot system. The strength card, which is card number 8 in some systems and card number 11 in some systems, but is generally a female figure, generally. Sometimes it's a male figure, but generally a female figure and generally a lion in relationship. And it's sometimes described as the higher self, the lower self, the mind, the conscious, the unconscious, spirit and body. It's these pairings that we have in the fullness of ourselves. However you want to look at them, which facet we're going to look at. So cultivate strength is cultivating integration for ourselves. So the first step in cultivating inspiration and accessing intuition, I believe, is cultivating our strength, our integrity as in our integrity as an individual, combining all aspects into one unified, integrated whole, integrity. And so for that, what we want is one, patience. We want to have patience with ourselves and with others. Because an integrated person or a self-actualized person understands that each one of us is on their own journey, is on their own path. And we can't expect others to be either where we are or where someone else is. We can't expect us to be where they are either. So we want to have patience for ourselves and for others. We want to have tolerance. And frankly, how do you feel about the word tolerance? Personally, I don't like it. And still I'm using it. However, I don't like it because it seems borderline negative. And that's because usually when I hear the word tolerance, what I hear is, well, I don't like it, but I will tolerate it. I won't fight against it. I won't say anything. I hear it in a very negative sense. Yeah? I tolerate these people. And that is probably how I heard it when I was a child. Now, I heard tolerance as being something that I can tolerate or something that I cannot tolerate. And if I cannot tolerate it, I'm going to fight. And if I can tolerate it, I will be patient. Do you hear you can hear the understanding that I have of these words. So there's another way of understanding a tolerance. And this is loving tolerance, as well as loving patience. We're not being patient with our children who are being crazy, but we're being patient with our children who are being themselves. We're not tolerating those things that are just irritating, but we're lovingly tolerating and allowing everything to be as it is. It's a quiet power, which is, I think, a beautiful thing that came out of the guidebook for this card. It's a quiet power. It's not the power of weapons or the power of brute force, but a quiet power of understanding and love, which is again in balance with that Aries card in the top row, right? The Aries card of power, of action, of fire. This is a power of air, a power of a quiet power of love. It's wisdom and understanding. The power of wisdom and understanding, which is intuition, right? It's a power of unifying the aspects of self, unifying all aspects into one, again, integrated individual, which is described as self-actualization by Abraham Maslow. That's the strength card to me. And also cultivating stillness. To access our intuition, we want to cultivate stillness. And so meditation is important. Meditation, I think, is the first step for cultivating and opening to inspiration and intuition. Do you meditate? I do. I hope you meditate better than I do. I meditate every day. I meditate regularly. And there are times when my meditation feels easier and sometimes when my meditation feels more perfunctory. But I still meditate. I'm still sitting there on my cushions. Not one, but plural, cushions. And that's part of cultivating strength, part of integrating the whole, I believe. So the next card, what do we have? We have divine timing. So once we have opened ourselves to integration and to the quiet power of love and understanding and wisdom, then we want to be able to sit in that, to allow time. We want to wait with patience. Again, patience is brought up again in this card. Yeah? We want to wait with patience. We want to allow for the proper time, because there's always a proper time for us to receive that full understanding through intuition or inspiration. We want to maintain our emotional bodies. Have you heard that word before, emotional body? Some scholars, some thinkers in especially metaphysics, describe us as having different bodies: a psychic body, an emotional body, a physical body, a spiritual body, an astral body. So the emotional body is the body of emotions that we have. And our emotions are never singular, because they are layered upon layer upon layer. And there are wounds that we have to our emotional body. Our emotional body carries wounds. Our emotional body carries areas where we have developed and grown, and areas where we have not developed perhaps as much. And our emotional bodies can be healed. We can heal our emotional bodies. And as we heal our emotional bodies, we want to maintain them as well. Just as we maintain our physical bodies with eating properly, exercising, meditation also helps the physical body. We want to maintain our emotional bodies, keep them as healthy as possible. When we get hit by something emotional, we want to do what we need to do to process it, rather than to keep it, that emotional wound, that scar. We want to process it as much as we can. And perhaps there are some scars that cannot be processed in this lifetime. Perhaps. I'm not going to say yes and I'm not going to say no. I believe that we can probably process everything eventually. It just takes time. And I think it just takes time and a willingness to process. Doesn't mean that the memory is gone, but still, the emotional body can heal. And we want to both heal and maintain that emotional body. We're going to get to that again when we go to the questions surrounding this spread. We also want to allow for new perspectives. And that's what waiting allows us to do. When we're focused on one thing with rational thought, we're focused on this and this and this, and this is the thing that needs to happen, and I need to get there, and I need to go this way. When we focus that much, we're not open to other possibilities. However, when we wait with patience, our perspective can broaden. We are open to different perspectives. We are open to different possibilities. We're open to answers to questions we haven't even begun to ask yet. Yeah, fresh questions can arise when we are allowing ourselves to wait for the proper timing. And as that new question arises, a new answer can come with it. And that new answer might be just the thing to move us past whatever might be perhaps blocking us or perhaps drawing us back or weighing us down as we move forward with the powerful current of intention. Surprising answers are possible when we're open to them. And that's what this divine timing is. Because those surprising answers are part of the divine timing. When we're ready for them, they will come. You've heard when the pupil is ready, the master will come. True. When the question is ready, the answer will come. When the questioner is ready, the answer will come. Also, the question will come. So, divine timing. And we have more ability to open further, the more integrated we are. So, this will move us directly to, you guessed it, divine inspiration, new beginnings, great expectations being realized, the primal forces of creativity being at our disposal. Again, like the child of the universe, we have everything that we need at our disposal. If we have the eyes to see it, the ears to hear it, the hearts to feel it. So, divine inspiration helps us to realize that we have this great potential and the powers of the universe are at our disposal to create with. It reveals our innate creativity. It also helps us to explore and stay open-minded and open-hearted and just open to divine action in our lives, which is divine inspiration and otherwise also named, I believe, intuition. So friends, this central spread is beautiful. It describes what intuition is and how we can move forward with it, and also how we can prepare ourselves for intuition. So friends, let's take a look at those 4 questions related to this central group of 6 cards. The first question is, how can I shine more brightly? And were you surprised by the answer? The responding card is a heart with 3 swords driven through it. And this isn't the very clean-looking Rider-Waite-Smith heart shape, but rather a very human-looking, bleeding heart with very thick swords piercing it. So how does that answer the question, how can I shine more brightly? Well, I believe the answer to that question is this heart. The reason we are not shining as brightly as we possibly could is because we have these swords piercing our hearts. We've all experienced loss. We've all experienced heartbreak. Have you experienced heartbreak? What has your heartbreak been? Now, when we say heartbreak, we're not only talking about relationships. We're not only talking about love gone wrong. And there are heartbreak in many, many different ways. Yeah? Heartbreaks from projects that weren't fulfilled, jobs that were lost, homes that were destroyed, wallets that were lost, or credit cards that were stolen. All of this can be considered a heartbreak. We've all gone through some shit in our lives. And all of that has led to emotional pain. Sorrow, which has led to grief and hurt. And it's that hurt, that grief, that emotional pain that shrouds the light within us. So how can I shine more brightly? first thing we need to do is to heal ourselves. And we may not be able to do it all at once. In fact, I doubt that we were able to do it all at once. I've not been able to do it all at once. I've not been able to look at all of the pain that I've experienced in my life and say, oh, well, there it is. Well, let me just fix it right now. It's a process. It's a journey. It's part of our journey in living an intentional life, is healing. And the more we can heal, the more we can shine brightly. The only thing that prevents us from being the bright, shiny people that we were born as babies. Babies shine with the brightness of the sun. Babies glow. In fact, expectant mothers also glow, and I think that's possibly because of this glowing life within them. Shining so brightly from within because that's who we were born as. We were born as these bright, glowing lights in the world. And the only reason we're not shining just as brightly now is because we've experienced some shit. And so, we want to heal. We want to grow past those hurts. And sure, there might be scars left, but scars don't block the light. Light can shine brightly right around them. But the hurt, the wounds, the grief block the light. And they don't block the light. For example, one emotional trauma doesn't block all of your light. It's layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. So we heal one layer, we heal the next layer, we heal the next layer, and it's not that rationally layer by layer, of course. We heal one layer that's down here, we heal a layer that's over here, we heal this part of this layer. It's not exactly like an onion. However, there is that metaphor of the onion and peeling layer after layer to reveal more light. So how can I shine more brightly? We want to heal the hurt. We want to allow ourselves to reveal the light that is within us. Let's look at the next card. The next question is, what is clear to me? And this answer to this question is a little peculiar, perhaps, because I wouldn't think that it is entirely clear to any of us as conscious beings in this physical universe. What do I mean? The answer to this question is a card that is unique to the True Black Tarot. And it is a card that speaks to the endless and the infinite. It's a card that shows us that we are soul or spirit outside of the cycles of this physical universe. That we move through bodies and experiences and cycles of growth and perhaps disintegration, and then growth a little bit more, and then a little bit of disintegration and loosening, and then growth a little bit more. In each body, we experience cycles of ups and downs, of expansion and contraction. That's part of being in this physical universe and part of our evolution. Because even when we think of expansion and contraction, we are not contracting to where we were at the beginning of time. We expand and contract and expand and contract and expand and contract. We're always evolving in cycles in this physical universe. However, our souls, our spirits, whatever you want to call that endless, eternal self, that is each one of us, knows that we are outside of that karmic cycle. We are outside of it and experiencing that cycle within each one of us. Each one of us are enlightened beings having a physical, less enlightened experience as brains in a body. Enlightenment is not something you achieve, but something you reveal within yourself. The Buddha did not exactly say I was enlightened, but that I awoke, that I am awake, that I understand now. That I am here, I am now. I am. And all of this other stuff is just other stuff. So, what is clear to me not being the objective me, but the subjective I, what is clear to I, the I that is the eternal consciousness of each one of us that is unified in this unity of mind, if you will, is that we are eternal beings and outside of the cycles of the Wheel of Fortune in the tarot. However, that Wheel of Fortune, those cycles are being experienced within us. And we have a choice to either enjoy and feel joy within that cycle of experience, like a roller coaster ride. If a roller coaster was just going straight ahead, it wouldn't be all that interesting and exciting, would it? It's the ups and downs and the speed and the slow and then the round and then the still point. All of that together makes a roller coaster interesting and exciting and fun. If we could feel the same way about our lives, we'd be there. We would be, as they say, enlightened. And what is clear to I, as an eternal being, is that I am outside of all of that and experiencing that. So imagine, what could we do? What could we be if we realized that? Here, this moment. How much access would we have to our intuition? How much access would we have to inspiration from the fullness of our eternal selves? So, as we shine more brightly, we can realize that. It will become clearer to us that we are this eternal being outside of time, outside of cycles. Let's look at the next card. The next card asks us, what am I hungry for? And that's a problematic question, especially considering that we just came from what is clear to I. What am I hungry for? Hungry is a desire. And there are some desires that are very, very good, and there are some desires that can be hurtful. And the difference between those two desires is which one are we attached to? A desire that feeds us and draws us forward and helps us to grow and helps us to heal and helps us to live is one that is in line with the powerful current of our intention, is moving us forward. It's part of the propeller on the boat on the river, if you will. Yeah, the propeller on the boat on the river of the current of intention is that desire to just live freely and move forward. However, the desire that looks at something that is lacking and says, I need to get this, I need it, that desire is one that we are attached to and we need to have and is something we want to take a very close look at and perhaps release as quickly as possible. So, what am I hungry for? We can be hungry for breath, the breath of life, and that is positive. We can be hungry for sustenance and hungry for expressing and sharing love. Or we can be greedy little hungry people and I need love, I need this, I need that, I need, which are two different experiences of hunger. So, what am I hungry for? I am hungry for mental clarity. The King of Swords is the answer to this question. What am I hungry for? I'm hungry for mental clarity. I'm hungry for my intellectual power. The intellectual power that will clear away clouds of confusion and help me see the truth, because I'm also hungry for the truth. That is a very healthy hunger. I'm hungry for the truth, for understanding. I'm hungry for broad vision. I'm hungry for being able to see broadly, including the details, but also broadly. And in seeing broadly, I'm able to have access to my intuition. I'm hungry for order and authority, not over others, but my own authority, my personal authority, my personal power, and the ability to express that authority, my own knowledge, my own understanding, my own power to be able to express that in the world. Not over others, but with others. I want to have my mental crown on, which is the King of Swords, right? I want to have my mental crown on and realize that that mental crown is of course rational thought, but it's also intuitive thought. I think a lot of us, unfortunately, separate the two rather than trying to integrate them, which is what that Cultivate Strength card is reminding us to do. We want to integrate them. We want to integrate our rational and irrational thought processes. We want to integrate our conscious and unconscious thought processes and then be able to express them, both in words and in actions. And that's the King of Swords. So if we want that, we want to open to our abilities of mind, the fullness of mind, then we're good. We're all good. Let's look at that last question. So as we realize that we have hurts that we can heal and shine more brightly, that we are innately eternal beings outside of time and cycles, experiencing them within us, and that we are hoping for and hoping to allow our mental clarity to shine forth in an integrated form. Then we ask the question, how can I express more love? Because our purpose here is joy. And we are here as beings of love. Love is who we are. So to express ourselves is to express love. And once we've healed our emotional bodies, well, actually, honestly, we don't have to heal it all. We may not even be able to heal it all within this physical lifetime. However, every moment of every day, we can express love, even through the hurt. How can we express more love? And the answer to that card is also a surprise. This is not the personal Three of Swords, swords through our own personal hearts. Here we have a whole bunch of beings stabbed. So, how can we express more love? Realizing that it's not only us. We've all been through some shit. And realizing that everyone has had experiences and has the need to heal is the first step of expressing love. We all have painful endings. There are ours, and there are yours, and there are theirs. We all have painful endings. We all have deep wounds. We've all experienced betrayal of one sort or another. We've all experienced loss. We've all experienced crisis. My most recent big crisis, the change of jobs, has been something that I'm still dealing with. something that I'm still trying to heal. So, first step, understand we all have our wounds. And allow each other to have our wounds. We don't want to deny them. We don't want to ignore them. We don't want to change them, because that's impossible. Telling someone else to, or trying to do it for them, trying to fix their wounds for them, is both impossible and disrespectful and unloving. The loving stance, the loving process is to love them through their wounds, through our wounds and through their wounds. As we each heal and reveal the light from within. Because it's that light that is the expression of love, isn't it? We also don't want to prevent others from reaching their bottom, which is something that I've heard Colette Baron-Reid mention a few times. You don't want to rob others of their bottom. What does that mean? We don't want to enable others in their perhaps self-destructive behaviors because we think we're helping them, we're trying to save them. We have to allow people to reach whatever bottom they need to reach so that we can help them lift themselves up after that, after we all realize what we are doing to ourselves and perhaps to others. We want to allow them to reach their bottom and then be there to help them rise and heal. And that is the expression of love. Another expression of love is loving them through their fall and then their rise back up from it. Trying to catch them before they've reached their bottom is not a loving act. It's a, I don't want to see your pain act, which is not loving. It's self-protective in many ways. We want to allow them to reach their bottom. And we want to be allowed to reach our bottom so that we can rise and heal. In truth, not in a pretend a coating of light and love that is just an imitation, a plaster, a mirage, an illusion placed around us. We need to discover that love from within and let it shine out, and let it shine out to those as they discover their own love from within. That's how we can express more love. We want to shine our love on ourselves and others as they live their experiences. Help them, of course, when we can, but not prevent them from discovering who they are. Not prevent them from seeing who they are, just seeing what they are doing. And also allowing ourselves to see who we are and what we are doing to others and to ourselves. Because there are a whole bunch of us out there trying to help for the wrong reasons. Trying to help because if they don't, they feel bad. The right reason to help is because we can't help it, because love is moving us towards it and allowing each other to be who we are. That is real love. And that is the love that we want to express. And if we can express that love, imagine how open we are. Imagine how integrated we become and how much more inspiration and intuition we have available to us. And how much more able we are to move with the power of our intentions. Friends, what do you think? I'd love to hear from you. How much access do you have to intuition and inspiration? How are you developing it for yourself? How much of yourself have you realized? How much of your hurts are you able to heal? And how are you healing them? I think the first step is looking at them. The second step is loving ourselves through them. And patience, being patient. Because our innate love will heal ourselves and others. So friends, this is the end of this video. If you're curious about the decks, just wait a moment and there will be a little bit of information at the end. And again, there are links below if you want to get these decks yourself. Hit the like button if you feel called to. Share this with anyone who you think might be inspired by it. And also hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, so you get notifications, and clank that alarm bell. And comment below. I'd love to hear from you. I love hearing from people. I'd like to engage with you. And friends, now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.